So, you've finally done it. After several attempts and lots of frustration caused by rollouts and stomps, you've finally defeated gym leader Whitney. Now, you can move on in your adventure, take some time to catch this weird looking tree thing, and take on the remaining gyms in the Johto region. And yet, that last battle left you with a hint of doubt. If the third gym was difficult, will the remaining gyms be just as bad? Could they possibly get worse? You walk into the next gym, face off against the gym leader, and leave it with a sense of disappointment. That gym was much easier than the previous one. When will the game get difficult again? Well, the simple truth is that it won't. Whitney is an outlier in Johto. Unlike that battle against her Miltank, all the other gyms are fairly simple and have straightforward ways of making those battles easy. So today, we're going to pivot away from talking about that trauma-inducing gym in Johto and talk about the next 4 gyms, all of which were just a bit easier than you might have expected. We'll start of course with the very next gym that you need to take on after defeating Whitney, the Ekruteak City Gym. You can actually battle Morty soon after you first make it to the city, though you also have the option to explore other parts of Johto first, which we'll get to in a minute. Morty's team is one of the weird ones amongst the Johto gym leaders. He has 4 Pokemon on his team, but not a single one of them is from the region. Instead, his team consists of a Ghastly, 2 Haunter, and his ace Pokemon, Gengar. Now, I'll be honest, this Gengar is absolutely a threat in ways that are similar to Miltank before it. Gengar is another fully evolved Pokemon that you'll more than likely be fighting against with unevolved Pokemon. Gengar is also even faster than Miltank was, sitting at a high base speed stat of 110, and on top of that, Gengar has a monstrously high special attack stat of 130, so he can hit really hard. In theory, Gengar should even be a much bigger threat than Miltank was. Looking at its moveset, we see that it has 2 powerful attacking options in Shadow Ball and Dream Eater. The latter of these moves requires your Pokemon to be sleeping, so Gengar also has the move Hypnosis. And lastly, Gengar has access to Mean Look. This move can be the most annoying one, as if it's used, it prevents you from switching out your Pokemon. If Gengar then hits a Hypnosis, it'll guarantee that Dream Eater hits, as you won't be able to switch into a Pokemon that's awake. And on top of that, Dream Eater will then heal Gengar based on how much damage it did, which can be a lot given that base 130 special attack stat. However, Gengar has 2 major weaknesses that make it a much easier fight than Miltank. First off, there's that Shadow Ball move. A stab move for Gengar is terrifying, until you remember that for some reason, those type moves were physical moves in Gen 2, and Gengar's physical attack stat is laughably bad. Things are a bit different in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, but we'll get to that in a second. The other issue with Morty is the fact that since his team is just members of the Ghastly line, they all share a poison typing. This is very much exploitable, especially by Psychic type Pokemon that Morty is supposed to counter. And to make matters worse for Morty, there are 3 valuable Psychic type Pokemon available to you before you take him on. First, let's take a look at Eevee. If you backtrack to Goldenrod after first entering the Ekruteak City Pokemon Center, you can talk to Bill in his home. There, he'll give you an Eevee as a gift, which you can of course add to your team. You can then evolve the Eevee into an Espeon by maxing out its happiness using the hair salons in the underground of Goldenrod, giving you a strong Psychic type Pokemon that can wipe Morty out, since Espeon has the same special attack and speed stats as Gengar. However, there is a small catch with Espeon. It won't have access to any Psychic type moves if you evolve the Eevee that Bill gives you. Instead, you should take that Eevee, place it in the daycare alongside a Ditto that you can catch on Route 34, and get yourself a new Eevee at level 5. The bad thing about the Eevee that Bill gives you is the fact that it's obtained at level 20. This means that it won't have access to the move Confusion, which Espeon learns at level 16. As for Psybeam, the next Psychic type move that Espeon learns, well, that won't happen until level 36. But if you don't mind all the extra time and effort that goes into getting an Eevee at level 5, you'll be able to evolve it before it hits level 16, and make sure that it has access to Confusion for the gym battle. And as an extra incentive, using Espeon in Heart Gold and Soul Silver will also give you a strong Pokemon who would become an excellent user of the Shadow Ball TM that Morty gives you after you defeat him. Another notable Pokemon that can help out in this gym is Gengar's counterpart, Alakazam. Well, I guess it's just Kadabra if you don't have anyone to trade with, but still. Kadabra is yet another excellent Psychic type Pokemon that can be obtained around Goldenrod City, And although its relevant base stats aren't as high as Espeon's, it does have one advantage over Espeon in Gold, Silver, and Crystal specifically. Kadabra gets access to all 3 elemental punches, which you can obtain as TMs from Goldenrod's department store. This wide move pool makes Kadabra, or Alakazam, a great choice for your team, as it'll give them more than enough type coverage to deal with any major battle going forward. And of course, they're also great users of the Shadow Ball TM in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. And finally, on our Psychic type train, we have a Johto Pokemon to highlight. One of the interesting things about Johto is that the region opens up quite a bit after you've made it to Ekruteak, even if you haven't beaten Morty yet. By going east through Mount Mortar, you can go past Mahogany Town and start working your way to the Lake of Rage. And on your way there, you can find the 3rd Psychic Pokemon that'll help you against the Ghost Gym, Girafarig. Girafarig has an advantage that neither Espeon or Kadabra and Alakazam possess. It's a normal type Pokemon. This means that Morty's Gengar won't be able to deal much damage to Girafarig, as Girafarig is immune to Shadow Ball. As for the speed issue, Girafarig actually takes the advantage here with access to Agility. By using this move against Morty's earlier Pokemon, you can guarantee that Girafarig will outspeed his entire team, letting you take out each of his Pokemon and only taking damage from possible curses. And to make Girafarig an even more interesting choice, you can use that Shadow Ball TM on it even in Gold, Silver, or Crystal, since Girafarig actually has a respectable base attack stat of 80. Girafarig was in fact my strategy for defeating Morty in my Johto lock a while back, since its typing makes it the perfect counter to Morty's team. Honorable mentions go to any ground type Pokemon that can hit Morty's Pokemon with Stab Dig, which can be found as a TM in the National Park. In my video against Miltank, I actually failed to mention that it is possible for your mom to save up enough money to buy you a Moonstone around the same time that you reach Goldenrod. If she does this, you can get the Nido Monarch Pokemon before taking on Morty, giving you a fully evolved ground type that can hit hard with Dig. Post-edit Proto here, so I kind of realized after writing this script and recording it that the Nido Monarchs don't actually learn Dig by TM, which is kind of just really stupid in my opinion. You can still get them to fight Morty and just put Mud Slap on them instead. Won't hit as hard, but it'll still do decent damage, and the lower accuracy is actually going to be really helpful against Hypnosis, so still an option. My bad. For the next gym, we're going to be heading west of Ekruteak towards Olivine City. Of course, the gym leader there seems to be MIA, so we'll continue our journey overseas to the serene Cianwood City, where we'll be facing off against the fighting type gym leader Chuck next. Let's just cut to the chase with this one. Remember how I literally just spent a few minutes praising 3 psychic type Pokemon for being able to take on Morty's team easily? According to my math, psychic types are also good against fighting types. So the way to counter this gym is to just use the psychic Pokemon that you literally just used against Morty. But that's boring. I don't want to just move on to the next gym leader in under a minute. Morty and his Gengar got a whole breakdown for themselves, so don't Chuck and his Pokemon deserve the same? Honestly, no. He doesn't, but we'll do it anyways. Now the weirdest thing about this gym is Chuck's team. It's not even the lack of Johto Pokemon on the team that bothers me here, though that certainly doesn't make me happy either. No, it's the lack of Pokemon in general. Why does Chuck, the 5th or potentially 6th gym leader, only have 2 Pokemon on his team? Just a Machoke and a Poliwrath. This gym isn't just a disappointment because it's easy to beat, it's a disappointment because you can speedrun Chuck's battle without even intending to do so. Now admittedly, Chuck's Poliwrath does have an interesting move pool, but interesting in this case doesn't mean strong or threatening. It does get access to Surf, which can be an issue for any Cyndaquil fans, but otherwise that's Poliwrath's only good move. Its fighting type stab is Dynamic Punch, which does cause confusion and do a lot of damage, but it's a move that misses 50% of the time. To ensure that Dynamic Punch hits, Poliwrath also has access to Mind Reader. This is obviously meant to be a combo, but the issue is that Mind Reader doesn't do anything immediately. Sure, it can use Mind Reader to set up a guaranteed Dynamic Punch the following turn, but by that time that turn comes, Poliwrath is probably just knocked out. As for Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Poliwrath gets Body Slam and Focus Punch instead. But honestly, Focus Punch is probably a worse move than Dynamic Punch, since damaging Poliwrath at all just prevents Focus Punch from working. As for the Pokemon that are available to help you in this gym other than the aforementioned Psychic types, you can always go with some of the Flying type Pokemon of the region. Pidgeotto and Noctowl are both available as early as the first route of the game, with Noctowl even having access to Psychic moves to help out. You can also go with Natu, though I wouldn't recommend doing so in the original games, as it doesn't learn any Psychic type moves other than Future Sight at level 30, and that's only if you don't evolve it until then. As for Hyco and Soul Silver, why not use Natu? It quad resists fighting types after all. Alternatively, you can go with some bulky Psychic Pokemon. Slowpoke is surprisingly found in the Slowpoke Well near Azalea Town and is great for battling against Poliwrath since its water typing lets it resist Surf. Or, you can just bring back your MVP from the Goldenrod Gym, Execute. Just like Slowpoke, Execute can resist Surf and still has good longevity thanks to Leech Seed. So overall, there are a lot of ways for you to answer Chuck's tiny team. And then, there's my favorite gym leader in the Pokemon series, Jasmine. Honestly, how could she not be my favorite? A gym leader who doesn't actually refuse to battle you, but is too busy taking care of a sick Pokemon. That simple plot point gives her just so much character and shows how kind-hearted Jasmine is. Sadly, this video isn't about Jasmine and her personality though, it's about her team, and that's where things start going downhill. You enter Jasmine's gym, and you hear that she uses a brand new type that was only recently discovered, the Steel type. Up until this point, it's possible that you haven't even seen a single Steel type Pokemon yet, so you're excited to see what kind of Pokemon Jasmine will have on her team. And she sends out a Magnemite. Better yet, after taking down that Magnemite, she proceeds to send out a Magnemite with the exact same level and moveset. I can't express in words how annoying it is that her team of 3 Pokemon has 2 Magnemites that are literally exactly the same as each other. Jasmine's ace Pokemon, at least, is the new Onix evolution, an intimidating Pokemon called Steelix. This thing looks awesome. To this day, Steelix is one of my favorite Pokemon. It fixes Onix's attack stat problem by nearly doubling it, putting it at a respectable base 85 attack stat. And to go alongside that higher attack stat, Steelix gets access to Iron Tail. This move is inaccurate, hitting only 75% of the time, but when it does hit, it hits hard thanks to the move having a base power of 100. Outside of Iron Tail, however, Steelix isn't all that impressive. Its other offensive move is Rock Throw. They couldn't have at least given it Rock Slide instead. It's not like Steelix gets stab on rock type moves anymore, so I really don't get why it was given the weaker Rock Throw. Screech, on the other hand, can be a bit scary, but has similar issues to Mind Reader on Chuck's Poliwrath. And then there's Steelix's 4th move, Sunny Day. I can't for the life of me figure out what Game Freak were thinking there. At least they fixed Steelix's moveset in Heart Gold and Soul Silver by giving it Sandstorm instead. Sunny Day is even more insulting when you realize that the best way to beat Jasmine is to use Fire-type Pokemon. For us Cynical fans, this is our time to shine. If you don't mind your starter being 1 level higher than her Steelix, you have access to Typhlosion for this battle, giving you a strong Fire type that can sweep her entire gym. If you don't approve of using Typhlosion due to recent allegations, which by the way were false and non-canon, then you can also use Magmar, which is available in the Burned Tower back in Ekruteak City. Alternatively, you can use Pokemon with ground type moves in this gym as well. Feraligatr with Dig is notable since that move can immediately take out her 2 Magnemites, whereas you can use Surf to easily knock out Steelix. Last up in this gauntlet of disappointment is Pryce, an Ice type trainer. Fitting that we're talking about Ice types for a gym battle that's easy to beat. Just like Jasmine, Pryce only has 3 Pokemon on his team, with one of them being an unevolved Seal. I mean, I get it, Seal evolves into an Ice type, but it isn't an Ice type itself, so I don't like that inclusion. They could have at least given him like a Sneasel or Delibird or something. In addition to Seal, Pryce has a Dugong and a Piloswine as his ace Pokemon. Interestingly, since Pryce uses Seal and Dugong on his team, your best bet of beating him isn't actually to use a Fire-type Pokemon. Rather, the best way to battle against him is to use a Fire-type Pokemon with Thunder Punch, which means Typhlosion is back again. Since Typhlosion can learn Thunder Punch by TM in Gold, Silver, and Crystal, it can hit all of Pryce's Pokemon for super effective damage. But since the Element Punches aren't available as TMs in the remakes, you sadly can't use the same strategy there. So just use Focus Miss instead. Alternatively, Magmar can also learn Thunder Punch in the original games and has access to Focus Blast as well in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. But again, if you have the ability to trade Pokemon for evolutions, you can also use Magmortar, which has the benefit of learning to move Thunderbolt to help deal with Seal and Dugong. But in case you're not running any Fire-type Pokemon on your team, you can also use another Pokemon with both Electric and Fire-type moves here, that Pokemon being Ampharos, which itself has access to Fire Punch via TM. This works especially well in the original games, as for whatever reason, Pryce's Piloswine doesn't even have access to any Ground-type moves. It does get Mud Bomb in the remakes, but that move doesn't do a lot of damage thanks to Piloswine's low special attack stat, making Ampharos with either Fire Punch or Focus Miss a good choice against Pryce in both versions of Johto. And so, without even coming close to breaking a sweat, you've now obtained your 7th gym badge. Just one more badge remains until you're ready to take on the Elite Four and become champion of the Johto region. But we'll be talking about that gym next time. Honestly, Claire's gym battle is one that's interesting enough to warrant its own video, so I'll be working on that one soon enough. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear my thoughts on the battle against Claire next, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel for some more Pokemon content. My video about Whitney and her Miltank actually gained a lot more views and comments on it than I ever could have hoped for, and so I definitely want to continue making videos talking about the different gyms throughout the Pokemon games and what either made them difficult to beat or a bit too easy. And as always, thanks for watching.